Yo, what's up everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm Ragdoll. In this video we are continuing the Axiom world that we started building in 4 episodes ago. Now, if you watched the last episode, you know that we got about halfway with completing the town. Okay, more than halfway with completing the town, and this episode we finished the town. I do have a little announcement at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. And there will be some breaks here and there throughout this cinematic where I'll explain something to you guys. So I hope you enjoy, and goodbye. this little cool trick here with Axiom, and as you can see, I can walk behind it. Okay, I can't go up this way. But you get what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing on the backside of the ladder, and this is how to do it. So for one, you want to go this. Actually, I'm going to do it right here. You want to place your ladder on the floor, hold forward, and click the no updates. So this little snowflake. No updates. It's just as if I was to play sand now the floor. So what this does is these ladders don't get updated when they break them. And of course, if you don't want these no updates, you can always turn it off right after. Everything else is updated besides the cool ladders. So now we have infinite ladders that lead to nowhere. So yeah, that's the way to do this cool little trick I actually found out about while building this. I hope it's useful. In some ways, some people might do it in really cool ways. And anyway, I guess I'll go back to building, and I'll see you guys probably in the next update. Okay, and I think that'd be it for this video. I'm really happy with how this town worked out. I do have one request. In the next video, I'm going to start a new project on this here Minecraft world. You'll find out what that is when that video comes out, but I will, because of course a lot of these houses are decorated, like for example this one is that's not on purpose. This one's decorated and I don't like that. Okay, this one is decorated and these two are decorated on the inside, I mean. But like for example this one empty, this one's also empty. There's a lot of these houses that don't have like an inside. So, this one first. Yeah, I'm actually really happy with how these two turned out. This one is like, I've actually made like some kind of rooms in here, I guess you could say. I can't go any higher because trapdoors. Which actually, wait a minute, if I turn on force place, could I then? No. Yeah, I still can't. Okay. So now, you can't do that. But yeah, I really like how this one turned out. You've got a little armor stand, a cherry tree, like a kitchen of sorts, a bed. Then here we have the floating ladder, which I showed you guys how to make earlier in this episode. Then I also made, which you guys probably saw this, some floating candles using the exact same trick that I used here, just for candles. With like this little, this guy, whoever's gonna live here is trying to do some magic stuff. We'll figure out the lore of this place in due time. But yeah, then we got this house, which has the map of the nearby area and also the town. I did have to update that map like a minute ago because, well, I finished building that house. Then we have the upstairs, which also looks pretty cool in my opinion. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And of course this house is also furnished, So there are some houses that are furnished, some that are not. What I want you guys to come up with is, one, what should these houses be themed on? And I'm talking about, I already have an idea for what this is going to be and what this is going to be. So the two big houses, I already know what they're going to be, and I'm going to tell you what they're going to be in a second. But, for example, this house, you guys could tell me how to decorate if you want it to be whatever you want it to be. I'll try to do my best in, your guys's vision, I guess. So you guys can tell me what this house should be decorated with, and what other houses are there? Oh right, and there's these two. So tell me what these two houses should be decorated with, and I will be sure, or these three houses, so the smaller houses. Tell me what those should be decorated with, and I'll be sure to do that. This right here, I'm thinking, is going to be a shop of some sorts with two stories. One story is going to be, okay, I don't know why I didn't do this. But yeah, one story is going to be the shop itself, and the other is going to be like the workstation or the living place where, the shopkeeper will be. I'm thinking this shop will be like a smithing shop, so like for example down here he'll have like his, like the reception, his workstation, or even his workstation could be up here, and then he lives also up here. We'll figure that out. What I want you guys to come up with for this right here, let me just do that. So what I want you guys to come up with right here is the name for the shop. Now, if you are trying to come up with a name, you could also, in the meantime, come up with a name for the villager that is going to live here. So it could be like, if the villager is named Bob, for example, it could be like Bob's Smithing Shop or something like that. you guys come up with that. So that's that. Now this one I'm thinking is going to be a restaurant. So you guys, come up with some interesting stuff for a restaurant. You could also theme the restaurant by like seafood or stuff like that. So what they sell here. And yeah, also come up with a name. You could also, if you want, I'm not saying you have to, but you could also try and come up with some staff names. I actually really would appreciate if you guys would come up with some of the villager names here in this town of ours. Well, the tavern, we'll wait a bit with the tavern, because the tavern is furnished, but of course no name, nothing like that. So get ready for your tavern. Or this isn't tavern, this is more of a tavern because there's like a eating place and some like sleeping quarters. Oh, so yeah, so you could also name this one because this is a tavern. Basically what I'm trying to do is come up with names for every shop. So you've got the restaurant, you got the smithing shop, you have the tavern, kind of, and you have the like fish shop, with the for fishing supplies shop. Then there's also the tavern, and we don't really need any names for the stalls because, well, they're stalls. You'll find out what they sell here with whatever is on display. But yeah, that's what I want you guys to do until the next episode. And in the next episode, I will have already done preparations for the next build, and we'll start naming everything here, and then we'll move on to the next thing in probably the video after that. But also I need you guys, I'll try to come up with some names myself, of course, but I would like if you guys could also name the town, because it's kind of dumb to call the town the town. So if you guys have any cool or interesting names for this place, let me know down in the comments, and I'll be sure to consider them, and we'll see what I settle on. I am accepting goofy names as well, so if you want to name this town something funny, go right ahead. It doesn't have to be like an actual like cool sounding village name. It could be something funny. Of course, you could name this like something funny. I don't really know where I was going there, but something funny. That's for you guys to figure out, and also myself. But yeah, by the next episode we'll have some names for everything, or maybe not for everything, but for most of the stuff here ready, and also the most important, which is the town name, because of course, unless you do want it, unless you do want this town to be called the town, then it's still a name suggestion, so it could work. But yeah, anyway, that would be it from me. I have already said enough. I've been talking for the past 9 minutes, and now you guys might want to enjoy some of my other videos. I mean, if you haven't already, watched this series from the start, I do recommend that you go watch it from the start, because I do think that this is something new I've done. Actually, I've done one Minecraft series before, but that was in survival, where I was, surviving for 100 days. This one is, well, as you can see, a building one, so it's just me chilling and creative, coming up with things I can build, plus the help of the mods. So if you guys do enjoy this series, make sure to go watch the first 3 episodes. 3 episodes? Yeah, 3 episodes. Go watch the first 3 episodes. Remember to like and subscribe if you want more. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.